I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid, over, under, and sideways. Yeah, alright buddy, let's go lay down. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, by popular demand, what an exciting moment in history. The time has finally come because what everybody has been waiting for the last month and a half. What does Kevin think? Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think. Spoilers ahead. But first, a commercial. Hey, if you guys love movies, and I hope that you do, if you believe in magic, and I hope you do, then you'll always have a friend wearing big red shoes, but you'll also always have a friend in me, and you'll never have a friend like me. 3 things. Boy, companies really want you to believe these fictional characters are your friends. Speaking of companies, the longest introduction into an ad I've ever done. If you're gonna go see a movie, then use my link. Just go to saygoodnightkevin.com/fandango and buy your movie tickets there. And that way, you can help support the show, and also buy your movie tickets there. Hope you check it out. Let's talk about Aladdin. Say goodnight, Kevin. Why am I talking about Aladdin? Well, I just recently saw it. Several people have asked me what I think about this movie. Since we've got The Lion King coming out, of which you can check out an article about right now on the brand new official Say Goodnight Kevin website, I figured, you know what, this is the time. I've never been one to not grant the wishes of my viewers. The true fan may already know that I love the movie Aladdin, the original movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. 10,000 years! I often will quote this movie in many of my reviews. And I think some of that has to do with having been a kid and it kind of being, you know, a movie about a boy finding this really funny friend. And it was right there in my age range. It was probably targeted at someone like me. As a kid, I think I enjoyed it for all of those reasons. It's a very fun movie, and it's something that I could relate to as a boy, as a poor boy. Am I just a poor boy? No, sirree. As an adult, though, I think that I found a new love and enjoyment for the movie for other reasons. Like the same reasons, obviously, there's a lot of fun in there, but I came to appreciate, I think, the nuance. And it's not like nuance like, oh, there's a real deep political message here. It's just well crafted. It's a well-crafted story. And there's a lot of good payoff in the film. There's the idea that kind of Aladdin is being told through the whole movie that he is something more important than just what the genie made him. You know, he's like, I'm nothing without the genie. And it's like, no, you actually are something. He's a clever person. And he does live in a world where that cleverness isn't really rewarded. So there's lots of things I could say about the original one. You've got the genie, Robin Williams at his very best, Disney at its very best, fantastic songs. I know, I understand that there are problems with it. It's got its plot holes. I'm not saying it's the perfect movie. I've seen Cracked. I get it. That's beside the point, because the main point is, oh man. All right, I gotta fix this. Okay, there. Fixed it. This, the thing broke, but it'll be okay. I understand after hours that there's all kinds of plot holes that you can point out. That being said, it's a good movie. It's well done. I better get into it, because this is not gonna be a short review. This is gonna be a long one, and I'm gonna rant for a long time. Aladdin, the movie! Did I even like this movie? First off, overall, and then we'll get into specifics. Just on a fundamental creative standpoint, this movie is not as good as the original Aladdin movie in many regards. And so, for that, I'm like, what's the point? Why? Guess I could say, well, I do know why. They just want money. Probably. I heard somebody say that maybe they're doing all of this to maintain the copyright to the characters. That could be it too. The things that I liked about this movie. The stuff that I liked about it is all stuff that I thought that I wasn't going to like about it. You know, whenever I first saw the trailer, I'm like, ooh, that genie, that doesn't look good. And the actors, I was like, well, you know, I think Jafar just doesn't have the voice of Jafar. And Aladdin and Jasmine, I'm like, well, this feels much more generic. Maybe the color palette, I was like, this seems, it's gonna be a shot-for-shot remake of the movie. And all of that was fine. I actually liked the casting. Most of all, the genie worked. The genie was awesome in this movie. I'm surprised that I would say that, but there's very little about Will Smith's portrayal of the genie that I disliked. I thought that it was very enjoyable. I laughed quite a bit. You've never had a friend like me, even though he added a verse and did a little kind of rap at the end of the song, and then did a full rap with DJ Khaled at the end of the movie. It was fine. I didn't realize Will Smith had it in him anymore to be funny. The problem often with Will Smith is that he used to play a guy who thought he was too cool for school, but was always messing up, kind of an idiot, and was always pretending like he always had it all figured out, but he obviously didn't. And then he kind of morphed into this guy who actually has it all figured out. Like, his characters are like, I'm the guy who's got it all figured out. And there's no, like, irony in his character. It's just a guy who has it all figured out. So this is kind of a return to form in that regard, where Will Smith is playing the Fresh Prince type character, but as the genie, and it works surprisingly well in this. The special effects, I was like, this is gonna be dumb trying to recreate like the cartoon, and it works really well. In my opinion, for me, I'm like, this is funny, this is fun, I'm liking this. There's new jokes, maybe not as rapid fire as Robin Williams, but yeah, overall, Genie works really well. I liked the actors who are in the movie. I think Jasmine, she's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman, and she should be, because she is the most attractive Disney princess. Just saying. And Aladdin, I wasn't sure about him, but he's got a great smile, good looking guy. I think they did everything they could with what they were given, even though a lot of times in the Prince Ali song, they don't have the best lines like 100 bad guys with swords. Like, they say them, but they just have Will Smith, 100 bad guys with swords. What? Like that. And it wasn't a shot-for-shot remake, but it was very similar. And unfortunately, I think for this film, it had the obligation to be Aladdin. I almost feel like this could have been a really good film, and it wasn't able to be because it had to be Aladdin. Many of the times that these key moments in the original movie happen in this movie feels unearned. Well, we're saying this thing because this is what they said before, and now we're saying it here. The acting at the beginning, like, the lines feel very stilted. Whenever they have lines that are from the original movie, they feel timed strangely. It's very dull, not the color palette necessarily, it's just not cartoony. You know, there's so many characters. Whenever Aladdin's being chased, you immediately know who this bad guy is who's chasing Aladdin in the cartoon. Now it looks like it looks like the guys in Passion of the Christ a little bit who are chasing him. Boy, I've got a lot to say that's bad about this movie. I just realized that if I get into a lot of specifics, I'm gonna be here all day. Let me say some broad things that bother me. Let's talk about the music. The singing's weird. It doesn't feel very passionate. A lot of the phrases are very enunciated and cut off. Like, they don't hold out the notes. And I don't know if that's like a stylistic thing that Guy Ritchie is like, I really like it when people do this, or they're trying to like match what Will Smith is gonna do with the genie, like making everything a rap, but it just feels weird. A whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. I don't get it. Like, I don't get what the creative choice was there to do that. I didn't enjoy it. The only song that really seemed like it had any passion to it was the new song, I'm Not Alone, I Will Not Be Controlled. Speechless. She did not do it as well as Stephen Curtis Chapman. I'll tell you that right now. It's fine, I guess. It feels a bit anachronistic because all the other songs are from the 90s and this one is from now. That's how I feel about the music. Something that's very strange about this movie is they changed Jasmine's character motivation. So her motivation in the original one is kind of like she's a homeschool girl, so to speak, who's very sheltered, and she really wants to find out what the real world is like. So she escapes the palace, she's a prisoner essentially, and she wants to be free. That's why she lets that bird out and has that conversation with her father about that. She meets Aladdin, and then they have a little adventure. And Aladdin is somebody who's always outside of the castle, and he dreams of being in the castle and thinks that that's gonna make his life better. In this movie, Aladdin still kind of dreams of having a better life, though he doesn't really have that kind of like existential crisis of like, who am I? She'll never love me for who I am. Jasmine, however, wants to be in charge. So, like a typical politician, she doesn't want to be free, she just wants to be in charge. She wants to be Sultan, and she claims that she knows the people better than anybody, and that's why she should be Sultan. That's her argument, which isn't a bad character motivation in a different movie. But in this movie, it doesn't make any sense. Why would Aladdin be showing her a whole new world, and then immediately, the moment after the song is done, they're sitting there looking at the people of Agrabah, and she's like, I know these people better than anyone. I should be Sultan. And so it feels very out of place for her to be this way, or for him to be like, I'm gonna take you on this great, wonderful adventure. It's like the movie makers didn't even notice this. I don't know if they're blinded by the desire to make her a strong, independent woman, but like, she was that originally. That's why she wanted to be free, because she was independent and strong and arguing with her father. Yes, she was kept under the thumb of the Sultan and Jafar, and that's wrong. But she was somebody who stood up to that kind of oppressive regime and said, look, I'm not a prize to be won. It was good. And she left the castle on her own accord. There are lots of strong, independent women who lived under oppressive regimes who stood up to the regime and said, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's what Jasmine represented. And I think that that's wonderful. Another thing about A Whole New World, he's like saying, look at this wonderful whole new world, and the world is just bland. That's very frustrating for me as somebody who loves this movie. When Aladdin says to Jasmine, do you trust me? That's an important part because later he says that again, and that keys her in to knowing, like, this is Aladdin. In this one, he doesn't say, do you trust me, the first time. It's like, well, people will remember, maybe they won't notice or something. I don't know, it just feels very lazy and out of place and unfocused. In the original movie, there's this part where at the end, Aladdin learns his lesson and he realizes, oh, I don't need the genie to defeat Jafar. He uses his wit. Spoiler for the original Aladdin, he wins the day not having the genie, but being himself, being street smart. At that moment, you don't know, if you're a first-time viewer, what's about to happen. You're just like, what is Aladdin doing? Why did he do this? And the genie also doesn't know what's going to happen. Way to go, Aladdin. Now I gotta turn Jafar into the most powerful genie of all time. In this movie, he does the same thing, kind of, but the genie does catch on, like, right away. And so he's like, oh yeah, I get what's going on, ha ha, I get it. So then now you're just sitting there watching the genie, ha ha. You're not on the edge of your seat, you're not wondering what's about to happen, because they give it all away, and so now you just have to suffer through this scene. I'm just waiting because I'm really only here to see what Jafar looks like when he turns into a genie. Those types of things are just disappointing. There's a lot about this movie that works, as I said, but there's way more that doesn't work. Maybe this is the problem with the movie. I don't know who it's for, because every time there's a line that comes from the original movie, I'm like, that wasn't as good as the original. Like, it's this constant reminder. And also they have the obligation to do the songs from the original movie. Anybody who likes the original movie is gonna look at this and say, well, this isn't as good as the original. And anybody who doesn't, there's too many references and the story doesn't really work. Like, just make another movie. Like, I get filling in some plot holes that were in the original movie and trying to make it, you know, like the genie does explain the limits to his powers, and that kind of explains some of the reasoning behind the actions and the situations the genie got Aladdin into. But there's other things that they changed about this movie that didn't make it better, in fact, created plot holes. I guess it makes sense that they would make unnecessary changes because the entire movie is just unnecessary. So that's my review. I hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you all later. Good night. Hey, once again, if you're gonna go see a movie and you love my channel and you wanna support it and you don't wanna give to my Patreon, then you can go to saygoodnightkevin.com/fandango and buy your tickets there. That way you can support my show by buying something you would have bought anyway. It's the perfect scenario. Well, if you do wanna pledge to my Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/saygoodnight Kev. And subscribestar.com/saygoodnightkevin. That really helps out the show, lets me keep doing this thing. Big shout out to the people who pledged there: Jacob and Emily Rugrock, Amanda Stewart, the Ask a Christian Counselor podcast, the Voicey Here YouTube channel, and the author of Paranorma Volume 1, an epic from the Metascript Guild. That's a book that you can check out on Amazon. It's linked in the description. In fact, all of the shows that I mentioned are linked in the description. Be sure to check them out. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.